Hello, my health freedom loving friends. Misty Carlfeld here with Health Freedom Idaho. I have not been making videos like I used to. I don't know, probably everybody else. I was just over it after the whole COVID thing. And anyway, I guess nothing will bring me back to the camera and the microphone like CPS stories. I did an interview today with Christine, and she's talking about her lawsuit going all the way to the Supreme Court when the Idaho Supreme Court did not hear it. And just back-to-back videos, I have to talk about this particular case. Krista and Todd Kolstad. You may be hearing about their case. Essentially, just kind of a quick wrap up. Their daughter was taken from them in Montana and put into a facility in Wyoming, because in Wyoming, the laws are more favorable to transitioning children. And their daughter seems to be gender confused or going through some hardship, mental hardship in that way. I'm going to let them tell you the story, but I just wanted to let you know why it was so important. We're hearing more and more stories like this. This is not going away. This is the new medical kidnap. It is. It really is. So I'm going to make this sort of where anybody can watch it in any state and not so much go into Idaho law or other state law, because all the states vary with their CPS statutes and rules. So you'll want to check and see what your state says about that. But I'll let them tell their story. But what I'm going to do is interrupt from time to time and tell you what they did wrong. Okay, I'm not trying to throw stones, trust me. They are doing what every uneducated parent does. And this is why it's so important to me and why I travel all over the state. And even I've gone to places throughout the nation to talk about what to do if CPS comes to your door, because every parent who doesn't know makes the same mistakes as the Kolstads. They're doing a great thing now by getting loud. They're doing exactly what they should do. But I want to use their story, and I would imagine they would want me to use their story to help educate fellow Americans about what to do if CPS comes to your door. Now, this is not legal advice. The only reason I could tell you is because I've seen it. I've seen what happens to parents who make the same mistakes that they made or do make the same decisions that they made. And then I've seen what happens when parents make different decisions. And it really is based on, just from the beginning, the Fourth Amendment, but we'll talk about that. Okay, so I'm gonna let them tell their story, and we're gonna go through it bit by bit. And this is not legal advice, but experience that's talking today, okay? Here we go.
My name is Todd Kolstad. I'm a father, husband, and business owner. I was born in Glasgow, Montana, and have lived in Montana much of my life. I have 5 children from a previous marriage. One was over 18, one chose to live with his birth mother in Canada, and I had custody of the other 3. I'm also a United States Air Force veteran, having served during the Gulf War with the 12th Tactical Fighter Squadron based in Okinawa, Japan. Our hope by releasing this statement is to help other families avoid the heartache and pain that our family has endured over the last 5 months. Our 14-year-old daughter has struggled for quite some time in school from bullying. We have had many meetings over the years with the school systems trying to address these issues. We even moved from Flathead County in West Montana to a much smaller town in Valley County in East Montana, hoping that this will give our daughter a fresh start in a new school system and new environment.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. They did exactly what most parents would do who are desperate to get out of larger cities with terrible laws and people who are willing to carry them out, right? So they moved to a smaller community thinking they're going to get small community values. However, this social contagion has infected everywhere. Really, the only thing you can do is to get your children out of the public school system. They're not safe there. They are not safe there. They're not safe in the public school system. The CPS caseworkers can come talk to your children at your public school because when you drop off your children, you're saying you now have care of my children. So in your absence, these people are making decisions for your children. So they're calling them by their names that they want to be called by, or they're calling them whatever gender or whatever animal or whatever it is that they want to be called by, and also contacting CPS or the police whenever they hear something, because they are mandatory reporters. Now, I'm not talking about real child abuse here. Real child abuse should be reported. But what's happening to this family is really based on this child's mental state and gender confusion. Okay, so the fact of the matter is, you're not safer in a smaller town because the laws are still applying and the brainwashing is still happening and the social contagion has taken over. Okay, let's hear some more.
On August 18th, 2023, we received a call at 1:48 from our local city police. We were informed that our 14-year-old daughter was texting a friend that she had met at a school track meet, saying she wanted to kill herself. It should be noted our daughter had only met this child once face-to-face several months prior and had only phone conversations with her ever since. We took this threat seriously and spoke to our daughter. However, we knew she was struggling with anxiety since school was about to start on Monday. She was also very angry with us because we told her she needed to put a 2-week notice in at her summer job so she could focus on starting the 9th grade. At 7:40 p.m., a lady by the name of Cindy from Child Protective Services showed up at our home, saying that the police officer that called earlier said he could not lay eyes on the child or make contact with her directly, even though this officer never asked to come to our home or speak to our daughter. We allowed Cindy into our home, showing her around. My wife was making dinner as we had a late lunch. It's noted in the CPS report that our home was clean.
Okay. Well, there's a lot to unpack here. I think there's a few things here I want to unpack. Number one, I have 4 children myself. None of them had a job at age 14. I was not willing for someone else outside of our family to be shaping their moral compass. I wasn't. And I know it happened to me when I started my outside of the house jobs at 16. It wasn't a safe environment. So I have not allowed my children to get jobs outside of the home at 14. Guess what? There's a lot of things they can do working for mommy. So they have been kept safe in that way. I don't know what you all do, and there's no judgment there, but this ended up being a real source where other people had access to their daughter's mind and heart. Okay, the second thing is that so the police are allowed to lie all the time. They just do. And it's been taken to court, and the judges have decided in case law that they don't have to tell the truth if they're trying to reach their ends, right? So if they feel justified in lying, they can and they will, and courts have upheld it. So we oftentimes act surprised that a police officer would lie about such a thing when he didn't ask to come in. And I'm not saying this police officer is lying. I wasn't there, but I just think by and large, we should all know that they can and will lie if they believe that it will reach their ends. They're not always on your side, right? They're on the side of what it is that they're trying to find or deduce or prove or not prove or whatever. They're not necessarily on your side. So you can't approach this relationship as they're on your side or they're always going to tell the truth. Okay, so next, letting them into your home. I want you to look up the 4th Amendment. I'm not going to read it to you, but you have the right to be secure in your property and in your person, but you should go read it and let it burn into your soul so that you understand that you don't have to let just anybody with a badge or a name placard come into your home. You don't. You do not have to allow that. If they don't have a warrant, you can say, no, you cannot come into my home. Thank you for the information about what my daughter said today. I will handle that. Absolutely. She is my number one focus, and I will look into that, and I'll make sure she gets the help she needs. Thank you for coming. Get off of my property. You're trespassing. Bye. And record the whole thing. That's what I would do. I would record the whole thing. I would ask them to leave. I would thank them for the information, and I would go about my business. I would shut my door, right? Because they're wanting to come in to see your home to start building their case for taking your child. There's a lot of money wrapped up into each child they take, especially that's going through emotional or mental health issues. There's even more money that CPS, your local state health and welfare department, and child protective services, or whatever they call them in your state, can make and will make on each child they take. And don't be confused and think this is a nonprofit. This is a for-profit private agency. And they make money on stealing kids. So when these people come to your door, you have to ask yourself, would I let kidnappers into my home in order to prove that I'm a good parent? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You're not going to prove to these people that you're a good parent. That's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for you to be a good parent. They're looking for a reason to take your child so they can pay the rent and the lights. So they should not have let this caseworker into their home. They gave over their rights the minute they said, come on in. They sacrificed their rights. They sacrificed their Fourth Amendment rights that's supposed to hold the state at bay. They said, I'm going to forfeit my Fourth Amendment rights. Come on in. And then things unravel from there. So we'll keep going here.
Well stocked with food and with no immediate dangers. Cindy stated she wanted to speak to our daughter alone. We allowed this given we knew our daughter was safe, but we also know our daughter has had issues with telling lies for quite some time, and as such, we made Cindy aware of that concern. We allowed them to speak on the porch. Also,
oh my gosh. So this is actually what lit me on fire, and I had to do a recording. No, your daughter was not safe. Of course you think that because there's somebody with a badge and there's somebody with a name tag, and you think my daughter's safe in that environment, but she's not safe in that environment. These people, like any other kidnapper who end up holding children for ransom, will make money on every child they take. And that's a fact. That's a fact. And the more physical and mental health issues, the more money they'll make. And that's a fact. It's disgusting and it doesn't sit right. It feels like that can't be right, but it is right. And that's a fact. It comes from our Title IV funding. So the money that the federal government is sending to the states is our Social Security money. How interesting when they say that there won't be Social Security money for you and me by the time that we get there. Well, that's because they're using it to fund CPS stealing children and paying states quite a bit of money for every child they take. So I understand his position, but it isn't right. It's based on a fallacy that we all used to believe. I know I did. And then you find out the truth that these people are funded by stealing children. So let's hear what he has to say. And I want to add too that I watched another interview with Krista. I'm going to add the links to the interviews as they happen because this couple is so precious. My heart bleeds for them. But Krista says, I don't think she says it here. She says it in another interview where she says, it just didn't sit right. It didn't feel right that I was letting them talk to my daughter without me. And so then we went in and put a stop to it, right? So even in her maternal instinct that she was trying to quiet, it ended up saying, this isn't right. And she went and shut it down, but not in time, unfortunately.
A family friend to come to our house as a third-party witness. After about 10 minutes, my wife and I went outside to be told our daughter had drank toilet bowl cleaner at about 3 p.m. and had also taken an ibuprofen overdose in an attempt to take her life. We could not believe this, as my wife had been working in the kitchen in her makeshift office all day where pills and cleaning agents were kept. Neither of us saw our daughter go in there, but out of concern for her safety, we agreed she needed to go to the hospital. She also did not have any signs of ingesting any harsh chemicals, such as a burnt mouth, burnt esophagus, or an upset stomach. We later found out she did not have any ibuprofen or any other chemicals in her system from the blood tests taken at the hospital that night.
So at this point, there's nothing else they could do. They had to go, even though, and I've listened to these parents say in other interviews that they knew that she hadn't done that and that she had been doing other things to try to get attention. And that's exactly what they felt she had done in this case. And then when they got to the hospital, it was proven that no, she hadn't done those things and she was trying to get attention. She was angry with her parents that day. It was the actual day when they said, you need to quit your job. And that's the day she was mad. She was mad at them. She was upset with them. And I know they go into it with other interviews that they found out that at her job was where she was really being, it sounded like grooming to me, or validated, socially transitioned, if you want to call it that. And she was upset about not being able to go back to that place where she was getting affirmed for her mental confusion, her gender confusion. So she was mad and she was acting out as 14-year-old teenagers can do. But now they're in this position that she's made these claims that she's, taken on this poison and this and these pills. And so now they have to go to the belly of the beast, which is the hospital. Ooh, here it goes.
Once at the hospital, our daughter began demanding that she be called Leo, he, and him. We explained that this is in her history, but not something we would agree to as her parents. The hospital staff ignored our request, as did Child Protective Services. Our daughter was admitted to the hospital for observation. My wife was mostly at the hospital over the next 5 days, and here are some of the events that transpired.
My name is Krista Kolstad, and I've been in my daughter's life since she was about 7 years old when I married Todd in 2017. She's Todd's youngest child and has always resided with us as a family. Over the years, I've built a loving, supporting relationship with our daughter. She's always referred to me as mom, even though she's not my biological child. I've always loved her, supported her, and made sacrifices for her. The following is a list of events that happened at the hospital, causing us to voice our concern to hospital management and staff, as well as Cindy from CPS. The hospital continued to call our daughter Leo, even though she's a minor, and after I stated it's against our wishes, our religion, and our core family values. The hospital told me to call their lawyer if I have an issue, as they will do what the patient tells them. I said to them, according to State Bill 99, they may not, under the law, provide transgender care nor transition our child. The response was, they are not providing surgery or hormones, so they're operating in the gray area of the law. I further explained that my understanding of the law was a minor is a minor, and there's no difference between a 4-year-old or a 14-year-old. And we prefer she be called by her birth name. The hospital put our daughter on a 24-hour supervision because this was a suicide threat. The hospital placed an aide outside her door who began talking about having top surgery and how she identified as non-binary. I objected and reported as inappropriate to the doctor on duty. At that point, I was told, why are you not more concerned that your daughter is trying to harm herself than what the aide is talking about? We had never been in a situation like this before and continue to remind everyone that we wanted what was best for our daughter and only wanted her mental health needs met. The following incidents also happened at the hospital that I told both Cindy and the doctor on duty I was very unhappy about. An RN rolled her eyes and referred to me as just the stepmom. Then, when I asked the nurse to call our daughter by her given name, she sighed loudly and rolled her eyes again. When lunch came, I suggested to our daughter she eat something healthy on her tray. The RN looked at me and yelled down the hallway, "Get this young man a banana split dessert." As time went on, many of the CNAs began to refer to me as just the stepmom and continued to roll their eyes at me whenever I spoke or asked any questions regarding my child's care. A pregnant aide sat watch for our daughter several times, and each time she told me I should be more respectful of her wishes to be referred to as a male and be called Leo. We felt this was undermining her parental rights as she said this in front of our child each time. On Sunday, August 20th, when I arrived at the hospital, the vice president of the hospital was stationed outside of our daughter's room. I later found out he was the vice president of human resources, not the entire hospital. When I expressed concern that our daughter was being given everything she wants and that they are reinforcing her bad behavior, example, there was no school, meals were cooked whenever she wanted, whatever she wanted to order, there was no bedtime, and she was allowed to watch all the TV she wanted, the doctor on duty again told me I need to be more concerned about my daughter trying to hurt herself and not what she's eating or watching on TV.
So they make it fun land, right? They're rewarding her bad behavior. They're making it fun land. And then when the parents question, they go, well, you should be more concerned about her hurting herself. Well, guess what? These parents are actually concerned about the hospital also hurting their daughter. So now they don't just have to be concerned about their daughter hurting herself. They have to be concerned about hospital and staff social transitioning and making this Funland Candyland scenario so that she doesn't want to go home. So that's also causing harm. So now the harm concern has multiplied. It hasn't narrowed. It hasn't gotten better. It's gotten exponentially worse for these parents and their daughter.
When I asked that all the staff only call our daughter by her birth name and please not to use any nicknames, the hospital staff continued to roll their eyes at me and tell me I needed to respect our daughter's wishes.
Nope.
Again, this was undermining our parental authority in front of my daughter. When I said anything someone did not like or disagreed with, I was told, why are you not more concerned about your daughter's mental health?
Oh, I am. I am
My daughter was allowed
concerned.
to make phone calls to friends, including the young lady she told she was going to kill herself to. When I expressed my concerns that she's a minor and that her father and I need to be asked if she can call anyone except family, I was told, we'll do what makes our patient comfortable. I had very open communication with the hospital as well as Cindy from...
I'm sorry, friends. Oh my gosh. I would have had a lawyer there so fast their heads would have spun. No. The hospital doesn't do what makes their 14-year-old patient comfortable. Not that that isn't important, but first they honor the parents' wishes. The attorney, just to back up from the beginning, when the police came to their door, they should have told the police to go away and called an attorney, right? But all along the way, an attorney, a good, badass attorney should have been called. All of these red flags they're just going off. They're going off. And I know they feel like they're going off, but I don't think they know exactly what to do. And I think they think they're in a system that is in their best interest and is going to eventually do the right thing for them, but they aren't. And they're learning it the hard way as they're watching the hospital system and the state be weaponized against them and their parental authority. It's disgusting.
Yes, my husband and I let them know we agreed our daughter needed to go to an inpatient facility and counseling. We were told there may be a facility in Wyoming. I explained we had concerns with Wyoming, and it was our understanding that Wyoming has no laws against minors being given hormones or surgery without parental consent. We stated this as soon as Wyoming was brought up in our daughter's hospital room on August 19th. We had looked online on our phones to see what laws were in Wyoming regarding transgender care. Cindy from CPS said to us, well, I'm sure we will find a Montana facility, so this isn't an issue, and we can talk more about Wyoming if we have to cross that bridge. Cindy and the on-duty doctor agreed we would try to find a Montana facility. We expressed we preferred Billings as we currently go there often for medical care, but we were open to any of the 6 Montana facilities that treat children. On the night of August 22nd, 2023, we received a phone call from the hospital saying a bed had opened up in Wyoming and our daughter needed to go. We were confused because early in the day we were told she was next in line for a bed in Billings. My husband and I were not told the name of the facility, only that we had to accept the bed. We stated we had some concerns regarding Wyoming state laws and how they were different than Montana state laws, and further questions we needed answered before agreeing to Wyoming. Within 15 minutes, Cindy from CPS showed up at our house with the police, serving us with papers removing our daughter from our care, stating we were refusing treatment.
My gosh. First of all, props to them for looking up the law and finding out what the law is in Wyoming versus Montana and communicating what their desires are for where their child should go, absolutely. Absolutely. But I guarantee you, a well-trained attorney that's ready to fight for you is going to do a better job at this than we are by ourselves. They just aren't afraid of parents. They just aren't. They just aren't afraid of parents. They don't respect parents. What they do respect is a badass attorney.
It's untrue. We simply asked that she stay in the state of Montana and wanted our questions answered by anyone in the system before agreeing to move her to Wyoming. We were told we were not allowed to see or speak to our daughter at that time. Child Protective Services could have avoided this incident by simply communicating with us regarding the out-of-state procedures for a minor going to a care facility. The reason stated for her...
But they're not trying to avoid it. That's the thing. And one of the things you'll hear what the dad say in another interview is that while they were saying to the parents, oh yeah, we'll try to find her a bed in Montana, it was sort of like a wink to the daughter, like, we'll get you to Wyoming, we'll get you to Wyoming. And they felt that. They felt that in the room, that they were giving lip service to the parents while they were also, nudging the daughter of like, we got you. So you'll have to listen to that interview. But the thing is that, again, she's, I think, has this mindset that all they had to do was communicate with me. They don't want to communicate with you because they want the prize, which is the money and transitioning your child. It's like a double whammy for them, right?
Or was parents who are unable or refusing to provide medical care. I met with Child Protective Services on Friday, August 25th in their office and provided 6 years worth of medical records and insurance information, proving their reason is an untrue statement. On Wednesday, August 23rd, our daughter was transported out of state by a CPS worker to the Wyoming facility. Court dates were set into motion and we were assigned public defenders at that time. She was allowed to text her sister. But
okay, friends. Public defendants are a part of the system. They're not going to try to help you. They're going to tell you, and whether they say it here or they said it in another interview, they explain that the public defender does what the public defender always does. In all of the cases that I hear about with all of the parents that I talk to, they all say the same thing, that the public defender tells them to just go along. Just go along. You'll get through it. Just go along. We'll get your child back if you just do the classes, and if you just say it this way, and if just do this, and then eventually you'll get your child back, and it's all going to be okay. And they don't fight for you. They don't fight for you because they're a part of the system. They get paid by the same state that's getting paid by the federal government dollars to steal your child. Does that make sense? The judge is in on it. The doctors are in on it. The public defenders are in on it. They're all in on it. They're all in on it with your tax money. They have no financial incentive to give your child back. And you can look at ASFA and CAPTA and find out how that was set up federally to incentivize the taking of children and rehoming them. There's a bonus if you rehome them to another family. So they're all working towards taking the child and making that bonus. Okay? They're all in the same system together. And it breaks my heart that these parents don't know that. And they're looking to their public defender for guidance, thinking that he's going to do his job and help defend the public. But the thing is, he's not financially incentivized to do that, especially with CPS cases. So it breaks my heart to hear them rely on public defenders. If there was ever a time to find money anywhere you can find it, it's when CPS comes to your door. And even at this point, how far into this situation they are in, it's like they've given up so many of their rights by this time that now when an attorney tries to come in and tries to clean up this mess, it's so much harder. Don't delay. Right away. You have police come to your door with a caseworker. You ask them to leave. Please get off my property. And you call an attorney, like immediately. So you need to already know who that attorney is. I have an attorney on retainer. I'm ready. The attorney knows me. We don't have to get to know each other. The attorney knows me. The attorney knows how hard I'll fight. The attorney knows I'm ready to go. And I know he's ready to go and that he's not going to say to me, just comply. That's how you can weed out the good ones from the bad ones. You can literally call an attorney and be like, hey, so if CPS were to come to my door, what would you suggest? Oh, well, you just got to comply. You just got to do what they tell you. No. Bye. Move on to the next one. Find yourself an attorney who says, well, I mean, I'd have to see the case and I'd have to know what the allegations are, but CPS is not always right. And so sometimes they're actually incentivized to take your kids, and sometimes they just do that even if they don't really have a good case. So if you're innocent and I can look through your case and know that you're innocent, I'll defend you and we'll go to war, because that's what it is. It's war. That's the kind of attorney you need to find. Of course, they're not just going to say, oh, I'll defend you no matter what. No, they need to know you're innocent. So many parents are, in fact, innocent. I think in Idaho, just to give an Idaho stat, it's like 80% of the time they have to dismiss the case. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They're destroying families all over this nation for money, for profit. They're incentivized to do it. So get yourself a good attorney. Get yourself, I know I've said it, and I'm sorry if you have kids in the room, a badass attorney. No like wimpy spine, like, oh, we'll go ahead and comply, do what they tell you to do. No, that's not your man or woman.
Who are not part of her family from the staff person's cell phone. She was also allowed to stop at her summer job and speak to her friends.
Oh my gosh.
She was being taken away to Wyoming because she was crazy and was trying to kill herself. This was a huge lapse in judgment on CPS and a miscarriage of law to our daughter, who is only 14 years old. What if, when she's older, this incident is behind her and she's in a good place mentally?
Yeah.
This is a very small town that we live in, and we may have just branded her as the child who went crazy and tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
Also concerning is that her mental state had deteriorated to the point of her needing inpatient care, but yet she was allowed to go in public and visit with her friends. While at our local hospital, our daughter was not given surgery or hormones, but she was allowed to have men's products against our wishes, was allowed to make calls sharing her health information, and be called names other than her birth name. By placing an aide outside her door who kept talking about top surgery and being non-binary, and by other aides belittling us as her parents, the hospital care staff contributed to the further decline in our daughter's mental health and caused the breakdown of our family unit.
That's called social transitioning. That's social transitioning.
Our daughter spent about a month in Wyoming at an inpatient facility. On Monday, September 25th, she was transferred to a group home in Billings, Montana for further medical care until she's mentally stable. Since August, we have been in the legal custody battle with Child Protective Services. Our public defenders have advised us to just play nice and go along with Child Protective Services recommendations and allow our daughter to remain in the group home setting without causing any fights. We have followed their advice for the last few months, and now our rights are being completely stripped away. As on this Friday, January 19th, we are set to lose custody of our daughter because allowing her to be transgender is in her therapeutic interest, and we are not following recommended therapy. We have endured false accusations from Child Protective Services that my husband is an alcoholic who drinks daily, that I am verbally abusive to our daughter. It should be noted that none of these incidents have been proven. We have no criminal records, nor were there any witnesses who have seen us fighting, being drunks, or being abusive in any way to the 3 children that we have had in our parental care. We have provided character witness letters as well as statements from an employee who had lived in our home last summer who have never seen or witnessed any of this adverse behavior.
Since our daughter has been in the group home setting, we have had numerous meetings regarding our wishes for her not to be referred to as a boy. Our wishes are for the program to be therapy-based and allow our family unit to continue to have the right to parent our daughter as we see fit to maintain her care. Our daughter is only referred to there as Leo, he, and him. She has been allowed to shave her head, wears only men's clothes, wears a chest binder, and uses men's hygiene products. She attends a therapeutic school program and is in all boy groups. She has been allowed to attend a church that no one will name. She has had numerous doctor appointments for birth control therapy. So she no longer has a menstrual cycle. One of her daily goals set by the group home therapist is, I will accept and embrace my chosen gender 80% of the time. This is transgendering our child against our wishes. Our rights have been so stripped and limited that we're not even allowed to know what dentist she recently saw. She was given some flu shots without our consent. Child Protective Services continues to say, "Oh, so sorry, it was an oversight, you were not told." When we ask questions, we're labeled as difficult to work with, when all we want to know is what medical treatment is being provided and by what doctors, what medication she's being given, as well as weekly updates, daily if there's an issue. On December 4th, 2023, we had a court date. The judge told us we could look for another placement for our daughter that was more in line with our religious beliefs and our core values. This is an impossible task as there's no programs that take private insurance, so our choices have been to remortgage our home to pay for a program or accept that she must stay where she is. I love my daughter. She's my youngest. I love her unconditionally and only want her to refrain from making any decisions until she has the maturity and life experiences to understand what the consequences are for her actions. We have asked that treatment explore why someone would dislike themselves so much that they would want to change their entire being. Why are we not looking at the past trauma and losses that this young lady has seen in her life?
Todd and I love our daughter beyond words. We are not naive and understand that we have an adolescent girl who has struggled with mental health issues most of her life on our hands. The system has not helped our daughter. Instead, the system has taught her how to weaponize the system itself to receive what she wants.
Yeah.
We do not believe the system has tried to treat her mental health issues, instead has forcefully focused on the transgender component and on forcing us into doing things against our family values, religious beliefs, and core moral beliefs. Much damage has already been done to our family. How many families will the system destroy? Is the state of Montana willing to open the door and take every troubled child who is angry with their parents, placing them in group home settings, and violating their rights as caregivers, providers, parents, and morally diminishing and destroying our family units? Our next court date is Friday, January 19th. At which time the court has already decided to remove our parental rights and transfer our daughter to her birth mom, who has been an absent parent for the past 7 years and resides in the country of Canada. This is a medical kidnapping and this needs to stop. We currently only have a public defender whose advice has been to play nice. We are running out of time and we live in a small town with a population of about 3,100 people. If there is any attorney willing to fight for us pro bono, please contact us via email. Thank you for taking a few minutes to listen to our family shattering story. We sincerely hope that this brings awareness to the destructive transitioning issue and keeps another family from being destroyed. Our hope is that our daughter, who we love very much, does not become a statistic or just another victim of the existing care system. You can reach us at
oh gosh, I want to see if I can.
our email, which is Krista and Todd Kolstad at gmail.com. KRISTA.
Okay, I'll put that in the notes. I guess just to wrap up, I think I've said everything that needs to be said in this particular video, but please pray for them. I have done really the right thing now, which is to get loud. They should have gotten loud earlier, but they continued with that trust of the system. And I think they've obviously seen now that the system is not in their best interest. Their attorney's not in their best interest. The caseworker, none of them are really in this family's best interest because that child is worth money. If you haven't heard of the Chloe Cole story, I would look into Chloe Cole because she was transitioning and now is an adult woman talking about how she'll never be able to breastfeed her baby and may not be able to get pregnant. But I think the thing that she articulates so well is that even when they mentioned that to her as a young teenager, she was like, well, yeah, I don't care about breastfeeding a child at 14 years old or whatever. It wasn't in her mindset when you're 14. You have no idea what you're giving up because the hormones haven't even kicked in that make you want to have a baby, right? So yeah, you're looking at these babies. You're like, I don't want to breastfeed a baby, right? So of course, because you're 14 and you should be being a child yourself. So you just don't have the ability to consent at 14 to binding your chest and possibly never being able to breastfeed your own baby or even have children yourself when they're messing with the hormones now. Definitely listen to these other interviews. They'll talk to you. They'll tell you about the birth mother who's been absent her whole life and or the majority of her life, and lives in Canada. And when they asked the caseworker, I think it was the judge asked the caseworker if they'd actually seen the mom's house or if there's been any sort of investigation into that house, and anybody laid eyes on the house that we're sending the daughter to. No. But she gets a free pass on whatever she has going on in her household because she's pro-transitioning the daughter. And they actually go into whatever the mental state of an older son in that household and how bad it is. But that doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters right now is whether she's willing to transition the daughter. The rest of her mental health care doesn't seem to matter to this court in Montana, only that she get transitioned and that we make as much money on her on the way there. I think I've said everything that needs to be said. You can go to Health Freedom Idaho website. I think we just had to change it. I mean, I think it's hfidaho.com. Ooh, I'll have to put it. Of course, our website, because I say things like this and we post things like this, our website has been majorly under attack. So I'll put a link to our website, and there you will find, you can just search CPS and what to do if CPS comes to your door. There's really good information there. We're going to be putting more information there. There's also an organization that's starting here in Idaho called POWER, which is Parent Objective with Essential Rights .org. You can check out that website. So there's going to be a lot of tools on that website, along with the Health Freedom Idaho website, on what to do if CPS comes to your door. Again, this is not legal advice, but I can speak to this based on experience from all the parents that I have helped before it got to this situation. It's so hard to turn it back now. I'm going to leave you with one quick story that will give you encouragement, because this is how it should look. So I was on vacation and met this couple. And we was like zip lining, having a great time, and ended up telling them what I do with Health Freedom Idaho. We shared contact. We touched base on Facebook and kept in contact with each other. Well, they had a CPS issue, and they had a 3-year-old throwing a fit in Costco, throwing a fit in the cart. She had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, if I recall. And this woman decided to butt into her mom life and say, I think your daughter has an ear infection. I think she's throwing a fit like that because she has an ear infection. And the mom, trying to load the diapers into the mom mobile, is like, I don't think so. That's not it. She's 3. She hasn't had a nap. She's throwing a fit. I'm going to get her home. I'm going to put her down for a nap. Nosy Granny decided to call CPS and say, and use the license plate and report that she thinks this child has an ear infection that the mom is not treating, and that's why she's throwing a fit in Costco. So guess what? They have to follow up on every report, of course. And they called, and in that particular state, everyone is a mandatory reporter. So it's not like just school workers or nurses or mental health care workers. It's everybody in the state. Like Idaho is a mandatory reporter. So some people take that very responsibly, and they're going to call no matter what, even if they just think that somebody has an ear infection without any evidence. And anyway, they got a phone call from a caseworker, right? Dad calls me in a panic, and rightly so, because I had given him at least enough knowledge to know they will make money on taking your children. 2 beautiful little girls. Beautiful. And so he was like, well, maybe I should let him in. And he's kind of hem-hawing like I hear every parent do. And I was like, okay, stop. I'm going to tell you all the hard truth. How many children they lose every year, how many children they find in um, in oh, human trafficking. Sorry, how many people they find in, how many children they find in human trafficking situations that are actually from the foster care system. It's disgusting. How many children in foster care get abused? And guess what's going to happen when they take your little girls in the physical that they're going to do, right? I dropped a lot of truth bombs on him really fast to wake him up. And it worked. And he's like, I'm calling an attorney right now. Yes, you are. You're calling an attorney right now. So he did and followed the attorney's advice. And luckily he knew a badass attorney. Say it with me. You need a badass attorney. And he knew of one. And they said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Long story short, the caseworkers never came into their home. The caseworker never touched their little girls, and their children are still home safe. And I'm not saying it works like that every single time, but the majority of the time that I've seen, that's how it works. You shut it down before they infect your family and your children. You shut it down. No matter what it costs, no matter who you got to call, you do whatever you have to do to shut it down ASAP before you end up in a situation like this lovely, sweet couple who very much seem to love their daughter and have her best interest at heart. My heart is burdened for this family. Please join me in praying for this family. And please join me in praying for this little girl who has had so much brainwashing in the last 5 or 6 months. It is going to take the leading of the Holy Spirit to draw her out of the state of confusion that she's in. I pray and I ask that we all pray that the spirit of confusion is cast off of her so that she can get real truth from the Holy Spirit, from the Bible, from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because there is no other salvation for her and her family. At this point, they've got to focus their eyes on Jesus and praying and ask for the Lord to lead them and get a badass attorney, which I think is going to happen now that they're getting loud. I really do. And I'm praying for a miracle, and I hope I get to report on a miracle with the Kolstad family. Okay, God bless you, everybody. I hope please share this video. I make these videos because I want to educate parents so badly so that they don't end up in this situation. So please help share this video far and wide so parents know at least what I've seen work and what I hope continues to work, and actually what the threat is that's coming for your children. All right, God bless everybody.